Hey guys, welcome back to the show, Amy Weber Unleashed. I am your host, of course, Amy Weber. Thank you so much to everyone who has been supporting the show, all the subscribers, for everyone that's new. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got a really gorgeous guest on my show, Jamie Lynn. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Amy.
I know. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Jamie's had a crazy day.
It's a bit of a shit show, guys, but I'm here.
Oh, goodness.
I've got my coffee.
I know. But you said, okay, so I know that you do life coaching.
Yes, yeah.
And this is interesting because do you consider yourself an empath, like an empathetic person? I'm assuming you have to be, right?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of a weird empath, though. I think I'm an empath that like is just kind of very aware of their own vulnerabilities and has been able to like overcome a lot of those things and like empower themselves. Like a lot of empaths can be drained of their beautiful traits, right? And I think I've really kind of learned how to manage that.
I was going to say, because you were saying you were handling a crisis, which was not your own. And I'm just wondering how you don't sponge that up.
I used to.
Okay.
I used to sponge that up a lot. Like I'm actually like a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I also do life coaching now as well, so I can reach more people. But when I was working in, I was going into the jails, I was working with girls that had been, sex trafficked. I did mainly like abuse, sexual abuse, trauma, physical abuse, those kinds of things. And then it kind of branched into narcissism. And when I was seeing these things and seeing this abuse, I absolutely took it home, and it was affecting how I was functioning, and it was affecting my relationships with people. Nobody really wanted to be around. It was not fun to be around.
Like not light and hearty.
It was like, how's your day? And I was like, really? You really want me to tell you? And, it's just like, it's not good dinner topic or dinner conversation. And so I really ended up, I think when you're exposed to it enough, part of you kind of shuts down.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately, like that kind of comes with the territory. And then I learned how to kind of bring back some of those traits, and you kind of compartmentalize it. Like when you're on the job, you're working, you still feel it, but you're working. And I think the purpose is what kind of like overtakes me. It's like, I need to keep this shit together because I have a purpose to fulfill here. And that's kind of what leads me. And then I'm able to really kind of with practice and with my own self-care, turn that off. Like I totally forgot about the crisis until you even said something about it. And I was like, oh yeah,
so
like
sorry.
that happened. No, it's totally fine. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm assuming it's like a doctor that literally, you know what I mean? Has to just get in there no matter what's happening in their day. They just kind of get in, and then I'm sure when they lose patients, it's especially now with COVID, I know so many people are just like having such a hard time because I think you lose people, but the amount of people that they're losing, then to not take that home with you. Yeah. How do you, it's
really hard because, people that are in caring professions are the kind of people that are going to really want to personalize that, or they assume some responsibility over that, or they're healers or natural fixers, right? And so learning how to really, those are fucking beautiful traits, but learning how to manage that is also part of being responsible with those traits.
Having those boundaries. I know when I was growing up, my mom used to say to me, you're too sensitive, right? And I thought it was such a terrible thing, right? That I felt these things for other people. And then as I, grew up and I understood that was like her shit, not mine. And I realized, wow, what a great thing that I can feel for so many people. But then I have these instances, I don't know if you deal with this, but people will tell me things that I'm total strangers will say things to me that I'm not asking for. I have a new client, and she's very opinionated. She's great. Listen, I love a strong woman, and I love someone who just, kind of just lays it out there. She just kind of vomits it out a little bit. Hopefully she's not listening. But she had said to me, I don't know her. Let me just preface this, okay? I don't have a prior relationship. There's no friend that introduced me to this person. There's no affiliation. She basically found me to sell her house. And she just came out with, I haven't told anyone, but I used donor eggs, and I don't know how to tell, and a surrogate, and I've got to figure out how to tell my kids that they're not vagina babies, right? And I was just like, wow. I was thinking like, all I'm thinking right now is like, what color am I staging the side chairs? And she's talking about vagina baby, and I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know how I constantly find myself in these circumstances. I'm sure before you probably did the same thing. And you're like, I might as well get paid for it.
Well, it happens all the time. And honestly, I think that's part of the gift. Like being an empath is a gift. Yeah. It just, a lot of people, we ourselves can mismanage that gift. And then other people can exploit that, right? So we have to assume that responsibility of it and set those boundaries like you're saying. But part of that is just your energy. Like we were talking about connection earlier in the universe and all those things. I think that's all very energetic.
See, I think you have energy too.
Yeah.
Like I know someone else, I had another guest like, nothing to do with energy and quantum physics. I'm like,
oh, I'm all about the quantum, man.
I love quantum physics, but I also know that we give off an energy because sometimes you walk into a room and you feel like someone just popped your balloon. You were in a really good mood and you walk into a room with someone who's like really like, aggravated.
Here's a really good example of that. Like, do you ever feel like somebody's watching you and then you turn around and they are?
Of course.
That's energy.
Right.
Look, like any thought, and you can measure this. There's like Joe Dispenza has a lot of good research on this, like statistical information that actually measures thought, measures brain waves, like measures actual energy. And energy is a frequency, and frequency transmits information.
Right.
So you're getting something. So that look, that thought, we're intuitive beings at our core. And
especially empaths.
Absolutely. And especially women.
Yes.
Especially women. And so, when you kind of combine those things, you're going to get information. The thing is that nowadays, we're taught to bury that and discount that, or that we're crazy.
Right.
Or moody or bitchy.
Or PMSing. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Like those are always like the go-tos. And it's kind of like, no, I know something's up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. So do you, have you studied anything about theta?
Theta brainwaves?
Theta brainwaves.
You're going to have to refresh my memory because I know that there are different brainwaves, but I don't necessarily know which one is assigned to what state of, like, I know some are like higher frequencies, some are like lower frequency, deep sleep, high,
Okay. So I couldn't figure out, I had a stomach ache for about 10 years and I kept thinking it's me. Cause I always blame myself normally when things are going awry because that's just my thing that I'm kind of working through. But I thought, okay, I'm doing this somehow. I'm stressed. I'm just creating like maybe an ulcer. And then I finally found a doctor that really works more as like a whole being person, kind of he was an ER doctor for about 30 years. And he's written books that, Tony Robbins has done forwards for. The guy is like really a serious, doctor. Yeah. But he works in energy. And so we were talking about my childhood, which is a big reason why I decided to do the podcast, to try to just sort of shed some light on the facts that, no matter where you come from or your obstacles, you can still power through that, and you can obtain any goal that you set your mind to. Like, I don't want people to feel like there's excuses, right? We all have our shit that we have to go through, and people have always assumed that I've had sort of just this perfect life, and it is a really not true whatsoever. So he was explaining to me that your formative years, when you're from like 2 to maybe like 10, your brain waves are mainly in theta. And that's where they're storing all this unconscious, right, stuff that is happening. And so he was saying, I was saying, and I'm trying to, figure out and, go back and kind of just give myself the things that I wasn't given as a child, so that I'm proud of you. You're enough. I love you. All those things that, like, because I was neglected and then I was abused. So I had both of those things.
Happened to you.
It's okay. It's okay. It happened for whatever reason, and now I'm here, right? But thank you for saying that. So he's like, well, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, what do you mean? What am I going to do? I was trying to do this timeline therapy where this guy was hypnotizing me, and I'm having to hop back into the body. That shit's tough. Like, I've done every therapy there is to be the best person I can be. Yeah. That timeline therapy.
Tough, right?
I went into a memory.
Yeah.
All right, I'll share it here because you're a therapist. This was really bad. Okay, I'm just going to hope that I don't cry. So I hopped back into a memory, and it was weird. It was like I remembered it, but I didn't remember it. Like, once I was in, I remembered it. And it was like I was about 2 years old, and I was in a corner. And I had nothing on. Like, I was naked, but I had like feces all over me, like on my face, like everything. And as I got into the memory, it was basically showing that my dad had taken my diaper and said, like, what the fuck is wrong with you that you pooped in your diaper? I mean, I was 2.
Yeah.
And so he had wiped it all over me and made me stand in the corner. Just like, and I just felt so much like shame, but it was so weird having to hop into that memory, because it was like, I was so full into, oh God, I couldn't even breathe. It was so hard. And like, I had jumped into other kind of memories and they came so fast. And I was able to handle it, but I got so shaken. I just was like, I know you said this was tough, but I don't want to experience that again. That was like,
I think,
sucked.
That's an incredibly painful thing to remember. And that you're so vulnerable, right? And somebody has to be really, really prepared to be able to pull you out of that and then give you the tools that you need after experiencing something like that. Because really what that is that's re-traumatization.
Right.
I don't look at that as healing. And I myself have been hypnotized and I've done the timeline work as well. Fucking A. Yeah. So I know it's incredibly hard. So thank you for sharing that, because that's an incredibly very personal and very deep thing to share. And I think a lot of people with very similar experiences can learn a lot from that. You know?
I mean, and it was almost like, as he took me back, I was looking, I think he tried to keep it so that I was in control by looking at my life like a movie.
Well, what he's trying to do is he's trying to have you be the observer, right?
Yes.
And not you actually being there, but that's not exactly what happened.
Right. And then he's trying to basically have the adult me then take me out of that situation and reparent me by saying, you're enough, you're good, you don't deserve this. You know what I mean? You're loved. I'm going to take you now, write the note to the parents that say, I have little Amy now and she's taken care of. But oh, it was so heavy.
Do you feel like that was helpful for you?
Okay, that was not, because then I said to the guy, I'm done. And he goes, well, it's tough. And I said, it's tough, but this is actually re-damaging. Yeah. I'm a very strong person. I don't call myself broken anymore. Like, I'm good. I don't know what this is going to accomplish for me personally. But then, so I went to the energy doctor who's helping me with my stomach, and I, for the first time in 10 years, don't have a stomach ache because of this doctor, which is amazing.
Yeah, well,
and he said, do you want to go into the theta brainwaves? I'm like, not really. Like, not after what I experienced. I'm like, is there gonna be a diaper? I was just shit, I don't want to deal with that anymore. He's like, no. I go, am I gonna be a mess? I have to drive really far because he's in Brentwood. And he's like, Amy, it's gonna be okay. And I'm like, I was really scared. And so he put this thing on, this energy thing, and then, oh my gosh, it was crazy. These memories came zipping into my head so fast and just got flipped around, and it was not painful. It was nothing. And so I'm like, am I just a super imaginative person? Because I was in the entertainment industry for too long, and I'm just creating these weird things in my head and thinking that I'm figuring them out. And like, I think at the end of the day, doesn't matter.
I just think do what works, right?
Do what works, right?
Look,
I mean,
even if
it's real, is it not real? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you come out of it and you feel like something inside of you has a little more healing and you're better because of it, do you need to dissect it?
I'm big on really not analyzing things. Like, I know a lot. I was just having this conversation with my girlfriends last night, and they're like, why? And I was like, I don't really need to know why. Right. I just need to know that it's not for me. Yeah. Or that, that I'm moving past that, or like whatever. I think we can make a lot of decisions in the present moment, right? And that's really where we have the most power, and that's where we have the energy to create with. Yeah. When we're trying to like psychoanalyze, everybody thinks I'm analyzing them. I'm really not, Sometimes I am. Evil laugh.
You're like, but I get paid for it. No, but it's true. No, it's true. Look, I had a situation with a couple people that were in my life, and then they were out of my life, and I couldn't understand. Like, I know they say, oh, some people come into your life for, a season or a reason, that whole saying. But I kept thinking, what happened? Like, I didn't have any sort of like whatever closure, but really like, I don't really need to know what happened. Yeah. I don't need to take on other people's stuff. And so I'm like, okay, finally at, 51 years old, I've realized there has to be boundaries, and I can't always fix everyone. and I can't take on other people's shit as my own. Like I'll go back and be like, if I could have done that differently with it. It's not even that it was like this terrible thing. It's just like, I even had a girl that was helping me with my children, and she seemed great. I mean, I was helping her with so many things. Like there was nothing bad that was happening. She was happy and had a job and was pursuing her stuff. And it was a strange thing where she wanted to make extra money. And I said, do you want to watch our dogs? I love dogs. This is great. So then I came on my way home. I said, we're about an hour out. She goes, great. We're just chilling. No big deal. And then all of a sudden, I get there and she's like, oh, the dogs were running around and my boyfriend was here and they were going crazy. And then he sat on the floor and they knocked his laptop. And so his screen broke. And so do you think you can pay for that?
Oh my.
Right. And so I'm thinking at the time, I started to feel really mad. Like, you're a grown person. If you see dogs going crazy, do you not just get off the floor with your laptop?
Well, that's not even what struck me initially. What struck me is that she invited somebody else into your personal space without asking.
Right.
That's a violation of boundaries, trust, and respect right there. So, and then to have the audacity to that sense of entitlement, right? Where she's like, by the way, even though I'm a grown woman and I've graduated college and like I'm working for, it's like, I'm like, are you sure you want to? No, I want to do it. I need the money. I love the dogs. And then after that, it was like, I get a call from like her mom's friend, which is a friend of mine. And she said, she won't be able to come into work. She's gone to like a psychiatric place. And I said, is she like on a 5150? I mean, I've had a friend that went to county and she said to me, Amy, it was the worst experience of my life. There's no real beds. They're almost like chairs, and then you can't have access to your phone. And I was worried for this girl. Like, I was asking my friend, should I drive around? Should I find her? Do I get her out? What's happening? She's like, no, she said that to please call you because she didn't have your number memorized, but she had her mom's and they took her phone away right away. So I'm like, okay. And so then I get on social media. Listen, social media has receipts. Yeah, it does.
It has receipts, people. You can't really get away with stuff. And I see that she had posted this thing on TikTok, like, I wish I had good news, but I'm on my way to a psychiatric facility. And she had like this music and this whole like, I'm all, wait. So you had the time to try to get sympathy and attention, whatever, from your people on TikTok, but you couldn't call the person who brought you in for Christmas, has taken care of you like almost like a daughter. It's like, it was like so weird. And then I loaned her money for a computer and I just said, listen, she's like, well, do I still have a job? And I'm like, I don't think we need to talk about that right now. Like, I just want you to mentally be okay. And then we can sit down and talk. And she's like, yeah, but I just need to know, are you firing me? I'm like, that wasn't a choice I'm making. You made a choice and there's things going on with you. So I'm assuming you need time. And I don't feel comfortable having you around my children, not knowing mentally like what's happening. I want you to heal and focus on you. Don't worry about us. And then she's like, look, you just need to tell me job, no job. Right. I'm like,
yeah, she's pressuring you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I go, okay. Yeah, no job. And then she's like, okay, great. Fine. And I said, well, we need to figure out how you're going to pay me back.
Yeah.
And then she said, this is borderline harassment. It's like, what happened?
Well, that's because you're me? No, it's just look.
Is this like, narcissist? Okay, so what is this?
Well, I mean, I don't know her, but and I don't have enough to like. I would not have enough to diagnose that. But like, look, it's attention-seeking behavior. I can tell you that, and she's certainly playing off the emotional reactions of other people, and that is giving her a sense of validation. And people do things to get a care response from people, and that makes them feel better.
Right.
What kind of disorder that is, I don't have enough information to diagnose, but we just know that it's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy.
Right? And that's good enough.
But that's the thing. I'm always thinking like, oh, why? And it's like,
But
Amy,
see,
you don't need to know.
You don't need to know.
You don't need to know that
and like,
information.
you didn't even need to give her, like, I'm really big on just not even explaining myself.
Like, don't engage.
I don't engage at all. Like, somebody did that to me. Like, you don't get my attention anymore. You don't deserve it. But you still felt like indebted in some way, or that you wanted to make things okay with her. That was because it was causing you distress, not because of her, actually, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how you're managing your own emotional like response there. Feelings of guilt, shame, am I a bad person? Things like that, right? So you're trying to get that from her, like, you know, and we all do that. But, you know, with this girl, like, when she's like, so one of the things that she was doing, she was pressuring, right? She's asking very quickly, I need an answer now. And she had you because you're responding, right? So she's got the power and she knows it. And then she pushes.
Yeah.
Right. And what you could have done is you could have said, well, I'm not going to answer you right now. Bye. Have fun in county or wherever it is.
Yeah.
You know, like you could have just done that. Like, so women in particular are, one, I think, very conditioned and very groomed to heal and fix and be understanding and be supportive and be that nurturing role, right? Like, we are wired that way to a big degree. However, there's also a lot of conditioning that comes with that. It's like, well, if you're a good woman, then you're going to be really understanding. You're going to be really nice and supportive and very forgiving.
Right.
And when you're not, you're just a bitch.
Right.
You know? And so those things can kind of work against you socially.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But having all this knowledge, because I was a psych major in college.
Yeah.
I didn't finish.
Yeah.
And I ended up moving to Los Angeles. But having all this knowledge about behavior and narcissism and understanding this, because this is what you do, how do you just go about having normal friendships and relationships without... Can you shut that off, that part of you?
You know,
Not to say it's bad. I mean, because
well,
obviously
you know what?
you have healthy, you know what a healthy relationship looks
not
like.
always. I mean, not always, man. I mean, I make mistakes too, you know what I mean? I'm human too. I'm like, well, I fucking got that one wrong, you know? You know, so I certainly have my fair share of errors. But what I will say is that, like, if you have... Everybody thinks I'm psychoanalyzing them all the time, and I'm really not. Like, I make observations just like anybody would. Like, if somebody's coming at you walking down a dark alley with a knife in your hand, I'm going to make a judgment about that. I'm not going to just wait to see what they do.
Right.
You know, I'm going to take whatever information I'm observing and use that just like anybody would. If there is like a teacher and somebody's having, you know, and they're out and about and somebody's having problem like learning something, or, you know, you're going to share that knowledge. It's just what you do. You introduce that into whatever sphere you're in, you know, just even a mom, it doesn't even have to be a profession, and you see a child hurting, like, you're going to use your mother's skill set and to use in that situation. I do the same thing with mine. I do the exact same thing with mine. So like, if I've had to cut people off in my life because I see unhealthy patterns and I know where that's going to go, and I don't explain myself. I'm just out.
Yeah.
You know, and that it's really hard.
But it's so interesting. I can cut people out of my life very easily.
Yeah.
And I just don't look back, and people are just like, you're ruthless.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I'm ruthless. I'm protecting, like, it's toxic.
Yeah, I do the same. So, and I'm relentless about it. It takes me, I can't always do it when I see it. I usually give it some time to see if the behavior can change or be corrected, right?
Right.
So there's usually like kind of like a grace period that I do before I just say I can't have somebody in my life. But once I've really made that decision, it's really done for me.
Right.
I have never gone back, actually.
And I don't think about the people.
Yeah, I don't either.
I know people like,
I don't even have an attachment.
I know.
I'm like, God, is something wrong with me?
I know, like, I'm living rent free in their head.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking at them. I'm not making fake social media profiles to check out. Like, I'm not blocking people. I just moved on.
You know what? That is the healthiest thing to do, because, you know, actually I have a video on like how to break attachment, and that's part of how you do that, because wherever you put your attention is where you put your energy. Right. Okay. So if you're putting your energy into someone, that's going to build a connection. That's going to build an attachment. So when I see these people with these fake profiles and they're spamming like other people's IGs, or that you're stalking your ex-boyfriend or like whatever, you know, you're only maintaining your connection and your attachment to that. And there's an and your emotional addiction to that. You know, and
I don't understand.
It's like, why would you want to do that to yourself?
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Just grown people.
Yeah.
These aren't teenagers.
Oh no, I know.
These are grown
Trust me, I
people.
know. My mom is like the queen of Facebook stalking. Yes.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Mom.
Really?
Yeah. Ever since I was little. Yeah. I feel like she will like buzz me up sometimes and tell me what my ex-boyfriends are doing.
But I love that your mom is on Facebook. I feel so old right now. Like if I was speaking to my mom, she would be like, what are you doing with your face? You're putting it in a book? Like she just literally, it would just go right over her head.
Yeah. No, my mom's on it. She's like, it's so-and-so's birthday today. And I'm like,
okay.
That's great.
It's so funny though. I know I always say to my husband, he, it's like, I trust him. Like I've never gone through his phone. Like we have a really solid relationship. But I'm like, even if I'm not looking, do you understand how many people cannot wait to tell me if they see it? You know what I mean? Like I'll just find out. Like people love telling people like the bad things.
It's because they want that emotional reaction out of you. Like that's
why. What reward do they get from that?
Well, it is rewarding. Like it is.
I guess
like,
for that personality, it's rewarding.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not rewarding for an empath, right? An empath is going to like hurt with you, right? They're going to probably like soften the blow or find a way to like protect you from it. But somebody that's like introducing that and being like, hey, look at this.
Right.
You know, that is somebody that is trying to get an emotional reaction out of you that does feel rewarded by pain. And that's a really hard thing for people to understand. And not everybody is like that, but there are many people that are like that. Well, they're like little pot stirrers, right? And this doesn't make them narcissists. Let me just say that. Like this trait doesn't just make somebody a narcissist. It makes you like an asshole. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, you know, somebody that's just trying to be like, just to kind of like see what you do. Yeah. Like that's a really shitty person, but they're doing that. So it elevates their self-esteem. It makes them feel more secure with their life, and it's how they're feeling better. It's how they're self-regulating.
Jeez, it's so crazy. Can't people just get their shit together, please? Not that I have mine completely together, but I'm a little bit more like together. Okay, so I know you were on Michael Sartain's podcast, and we talked a lot about narcissism, and he was saying to me, because of my childhood and the way that my dad was very abusive and, was very neglectful, he was saying that potentially, maybe he was talking about you, someone was coming on his show and was going to talk about narcissism, and he was saying maybe that's what your dad had. So I don't even know, what is the true definition of a narcissist?
Well, I mean, we can go by the DSM. Okay. And the DSM doesn't have narcissist. It has a narcissistic personality disorder in it. So to be narcissistic, you have to have certain character traits, and there are a lot of character traits, but I will go over a few so you get kind of like a general idea. So the big one is there's an inflated sense of self. Like grandiosity, so big egos. There's a lot of self-centeredness. They tend to be like conversation hogs. They have like I think I said elevated sense of self. They tend not to, they can't put themselves in other people's shoes. So they really lack empathy, and they really lack remorse. So like those are the two big ones. They have trouble connecting with others. They don't feel what you feel.
They don't care to feel what you feel. I mean,
it's not that they don't care. It's just that it's not even on their radar.
Okay.
It's just not even in their worldview. It's not in their world. It's not even something to consider. It just doesn't come up.
Because like he was this person that he was always right.
Yeah.
Always right. Like no one could ever say anything to him other than like whatever, even if it was just like ridiculous, he was right. Yeah. And
well, that would be a narcissistic trait. It wouldn't necessarily make him a narcissist. I mean, him being incredibly abusive to you is certainly leaning more on a narcissistic end, right? Like you have to have other things going on if you're going to abuse
a child,
abuse somebody. Yeah. That clearly shows a lack of empathy and remorse and care for others, right? Like, and plus the example that you gave, the shame and humiliation attached to that was rewarding, and so that does feel very narcissistic. Yeah. But with narcissistic personality disorder, the difference between that and somebody that is narcissistic is that with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, is that these people recognize that it is causing like distress in their life, either internally, socially, occupationally, relationally. They can recognize that something isn't working. Now, they don't recognize it the way most people would. It's more in a sense of, well, I can't get what I want, so what can I do to get what I want? That my wife won't sleep with me, so fuck, I'll go to counseling. They recognize that that's a problem, that there's something that they're doing, that there's a problem, but they're still not the problem.
Right. It's not their.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of how it presents. That's how we would diagnose that in therapy. And there are more character traits that you'd want to look at in the DSM that they define that. And I just went over a few. And with narcissists, you have all those things. But
I always say there are people that I say, like, you're pointing the finger, but there's 4 others pointing back at you. Yeah. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
To a narcissist though, it really doesn't matter. And people that are not narcissistic, they don't even have to be empathic people, but people that are not narcissistic cannot comprehend that because it's not in their worldview. It's not how they see things.
Right. It is. For me, it's outside of like, I don't understand it. There's no comprehension for me as to how someone would treat someone or act the way. Do you think people are born this way, or do you think it's a developed trait?
There's kind of that. I mean, that's a whole like argument kind of in my field, like the nature nurture argument, where it's kind of like, well, are they born? Are they not? I tend to think like there's a big, if it was me personally, I think it's more environmental than genetic. I really do. That is my own personal belief. I think it has a lot to do with how you respond to things, your coping skills, modeling your environment. Yeah. Those things seem to be the big things for me.
So like modeling behavior, people that modeled behavior for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you're around somebody that's, incredibly abusive, I tend to see that go 2 ways. You either become an empath or a narcissist.
Yeah.
Because it's how you cope with that behavior. It's how you cope with that environment. Like when empathic people have learned to cater to their environment for their own survival, right? They're very attuned to people's emotional reactions. Like, when
you
somebody's
can read the room.
Exactly, really quickly. And you had to do that so that you could survive. Right. Okay. But other people will just not feel. Wow. They won't feel anything and they won't care about you, and it's all about me. And see, those are 2 ways that you can cope with the same trauma. Right. But that is still environmental. Right. It's not genetic.
Oh, it's true. It makes total sense.
So that's just kind of my own and I think that's kind of how those 2 personality like types are kind of like made a lot of times.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes absolute sense. I think about my situation and I think about how I look statistically and I read statistically about how I should have turned out. Like I should have probably gone into, whether it was drugs or prostitution, whatever it was, to sort of get that attention or to numb out, what I was feeling. But instead I went very type A personality, and I became just this perfectionist. I tried to become a controlled, because I couldn't control anything else. So I wanted to control that kind of part of it. And then also I think, twofold was, if I could prove just how amazing I was, then maybe, just maybe, they would say, I love you. Yeah. Or they would say, we're proud of you. Or maybe they might hug me for the first time. You know what I mean? I think that's got to be like this whole, it's so many things, I guess, wrapped into one.
Well, it is. And it's still there for you. You know, it comes out in little tiny ways that you're aware of, that it's there, and that's a hard thing to really turn off. But, I think the hardest thing, when you go through something like that you ever have to do is learn how to love yourself.
Right. To learn that, that you, and that is the thing, that's a big part of sort of being on here, is just saying, I have my affirmations that I have to do at this point, which are, and the big one is, I am enough. Yeah. I am plenty.
You're more than enough.
More than enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing that you need to do or change or do anything. You can just be. Right. And that's good enough.
Which is hard for a lot of people to say and to get to that place. It took me a really long time to get there, and to realize, like, this, not even knowing the self-sabotaging things potentially in the past that I was doing for wonderful opportunities, or maybe, you know, great friendships, whatever it was, because just wasn't deserving, right, of those good things.
Yeah. When you have so much shame and guilt and all of this trauma that you've experienced, right, it's hard to feel worthy of anything good. So what we'll do is we'll reject it.
Right. Yeah. Which isn't just crazy. So in your practice, do you think that you would ever write a book?
I'm currently writing one.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am. I need to find a ghostwriter though, because it's taking me fucking forever.
It's a lot. It's so funny. I wrote a book.
So if there's any ghostwriters out there, please hit me up.
Yeah, DM her.
Oh my God.
I'll make sure.
I'm like, where do I start? I mean, I've started it and I'm fairly far into it, but I'm just like, you know, you get to that point where you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I mean, if it's not like, you know that you have great information and you want to present it, you know, in a certain way, but just the tedious data entry part of doing it.
Yeah. I just want to talk.
Right.
And have somebody like write it.
Write it.
Yeah.
There's so many ghostwriters out there though.
I need to find one.
Yeah.
I really do.
Fiverr. Fiverr.
Okay.
Try Fiverr. Fiverr has everything.
Okay.
Like if you need graphics, if you need anything.
Got it.
Yeah. It's like Fiverr. So,
okay.
Oh my gosh. You've just been amazing. I mean, I love beautiful, strong women that own every ounce of who they are. Just to say like you're unapologetic, like that's really a compliment to say like you've come to this place where you know exactly who you are, you know what you want, you know your boundaries, you know what you're capable of, you know your purpose in life, you've got your why, and you're out there just really doing what you can to help others, and it's admirable.
Well, thank you. And you're obviously doing the same. You know, it is really nice to get together with women that that really empower each other, you know, and you being so open about your abuse and your trauma, that is a way that you are freeing yourself from that as well. Because, you know, when we're holding on to that, like our body stores it too, which is probably why you're having that gut stuff, you know. But when you talk about it, that's a way to release that. And that's how healing happens. It happens through release.
Yeah.
So, and speaking is such a powerful thing. It's such a powerful way. And it's a way that you're really kind of taking that back and creating something beautiful out of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Come back anytime.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you again for listening and subscribing and watching. And until next time, we'll see you.